because I didn't really take it seriously. You have no right to think you know everything that's going on in this country if you know nothing. If you don't know some of the things that have happened with the Clinton Foundation and with
They're still talking about Hillary Clinton out there. Welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app and stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast and the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day. Today, and without further ado, a guy who's quickly on the mend, ready to get back on the bandstand, burning away. David Nelson, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Jake. Glad to be here.
Did you cross paths with John Perry Barlow ever?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about John? Because I've been in communication. They're doing some fundraisers for him, and I just wanted you to talk about John Perry Barlow.
Yeah, I met Barlow way back in the 70s, and he used to visit Bob Weir's house in Mill Valley there, and I'd go there, and we'd have a big dinner. And he told jokes. I'd tell jokes. He told a joke that I thought that I really howled at it, and we both thought that, it's just a certain kind of joke that's not everybody's going to think that's so funny. But it's just one of those things, and now I can't remember it good enough to tell it. But
no, but I mean, you guys were operating on the same frequency. What frequency was that? It was some kind of
Yeah.
I don't know, man. When I interviewed him the first time, he said by like 67 or 68, essentially, I mean, the spirit of America was dead. He in the sense of I'm not articulating myself very well either, but we were just talking about the end of sort of the belief and the dream of consciousness and free love and what was being espoused. I mean, I know you guys in your private.
Oh, I see. I wouldn't call that the spirit of America because that was a kind of a awakening of the spirit or something like that. But yeah, I remember that. It all seemed like in '68 was the assassinations and all kind of grim stuff was happening, but at the same time, all kinds of good stuff was happening.
Was there any parallels to what you see today? I mean, where did you and Weir and Barlow, what was your trip about? I mean, you guys was it as simple as saying there's another path to take? You don't need to go down this. There's more than one way.
Well, kind of. We were growing up and we were entering the world. The real world, and finding out a lot of stuff. And so it kind of was that. It was kind of like a awakening and discovering all kinds of new things. And it was a couple of years after the pranksters thing, going all the way east from California on that crazy bus and going there and to New York to see Jack Kerouac. And Jack Kerouac was in no shape to see him or anything. He just said, yeah, okay, fine, thanks. And they turned around and came back, but it was just an incredible thing that they went through all these towns with that crazy psychedelic bus when you never saw anything like that. In 1966 or 65, whenever that was, you never saw anything like that, like the prankster's bus.
Never.
Yeah, and it, so it was just repercussions and stuff by 68 and 69. It was like more of that stuff was happening, and the New Riders was born in 69 when Garcia wanted to play steel and wanted to be a sideman. And so he asked me and John Dawson, if he could come sit in with us, and just all kinds of fun stuff was happening.
What was it about Jerry's personality that lent itself to this idea of, oh man, it's really not all that. It's I really am horny to just play music as a group. I don't care if did he not want to be a leader, or he just was really just,
No. It's just that all the formalities that come along with being the leader. It's like kind of a chore. But
And what are those exactly?
when you really
break-
just want to play, when you really just want to play something, you don't want to have it be fettered with all kinds of considerations and stuff.
Can you?
It's like what comes along with being famous or something. It's not all that good, Not everything's good about that. Because now people think you are something, and now you have to live up to that, and And I agree. It's just like what Jerry's thought on that is that what I really want to do is just to play. I like this music here, and I really want to be just what it's like to be an artist. You have to have a focus and a concentration that is totally aside from all that worldly stuff, like who you are and what your rank is and what you're supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. It's just totally different than that. It's beyond that. I mean, Pablo Picasso or somebody, he can't be a regular person. You could go up to him and say, "Hey, you're wearing shorts in the winter. What are you doing?" Or something. But it's just that being an artist is a different thing. It's like a focus of something that you're doing, and so anything else, like your driver's license or whatever, is aside from that. Takes away from it.
Is it also just because you get elevated to, you could be elevated to a deity of sorts? I mean, Jerry was so revered.
Yeah, well, that's what should be said. Yeah, that's because it just took off so much and so quickly, and it was just incredible. All of a sudden, Jerry was this deity,
And I mean, David, in your own way, you have, you've sustained musically for so many years. So it gets to this point where, like, the only place that you can stay totally in the moment is playing music. Otherwise, it's always meeting other demands if you are a band leader. So,
yeah,
I mean, that,
right,
and
exactly.
so it of course, the only time you're not dealing with madness is when you're playing. If you're enjoying yourself,
that's right.
Right? I mean, that's sort of...
That's right. We used to say that. I get paid for, they say, "How much do you make on this gig?" And I would say, well, I get paid for going to the airport, catching a taxi cab, getting a hotel, getting ready for the gig, coming here, setting up, talking. Then I got to play music. That's the thing. Then I'm not doing all that. So they pay me for that. Don't tell anybody, but I would pay to play the music. But don't tell them that. But
I won't.
They think they're paying me for playing the music. No, they're paying me for taking the cab and taking the plane and all that kind of stuff and all the chores you have to do.
Right, and then it's. I mean, you used to camp out the new riders. It was interesting because I talked to all these cats. I mean, Banana he drive for Jesse Colin Young gig. He had a family back in Mill Valley or Marin, and he wouldn't party at all. He'd go home. And then there's like then there's like you guys playing the lion's share, or like some gig at the Berkeley Community Theater, and you're playing like 7 nights in a row. You're not traveling. I mean, it's such a we live in a transient digital space age.
That was one of the wonderful things how the Grateful Dead worked it out is that after in the second decade there, they worked it to, they were getting these gig offers, and with Bill Graham they coordinated it so that they could go to one town and play 3 or 4 shows and then go to the next town. So the traveling thing isn't so brutal, because really it is. If you're playing one night stands and you got to get on a plane and get to the airport on time every day, or get in the rent-a-car and drive 100, because no club owner wants you to play within 50 or 100 miles of his place the next night.
Right.
So you have to go long distances and everything. And the Dead worked it out. So, okay, we're playing one place for 3 nights in a row. That's really wonderful if you can work it to that, if you can get that much of an audience popularity, you know.
I mean, did New Riders, were you able, if you had to, I know you cut a lot of albums in the 70s, but
Yeah.
I mean, were you able to sustain if just playing locally in the Northern California area? Did you, I mean, the Dead were an animal unto of itself, but I mean, like, were you guys on, you know, when you would make, was the onus on making an album or on
well, it's both. Yeah, it's both. It's when you signed a record contract, the contract had within it specified we want 2 albums per year for the first 3 years, and then we want 1 album a year for the next 2 years. It's a 5-year contract, so you have to deliver.
So and with a band,
that's the thing where
with Authentic Cats, with originalists, how did you guys? How have you done that over time? Is making quality?
Yeah, you just you try to write new songs and practice them and get them up and running as quick as you can, because you don't want to have to go in this. You don't want to go into the studio with not too much of an idea of songs that you're going to record and have to work them out. You can do that. A lot of times bands do it. You go into the studio because you have to, and then you just think, if you start playing some groove and you make a song out of it, yeah, that can be done. But what we like to do is write the song, get it played, play it on some gigs. Then you start to find out where the song is, where the real heart of the song is, and where it's going and stuff like that, and then go into the studio. But a lot of times we'd have to just go in and record it, and then I remember a couple of times going out of the studio because the mix down went longer, a couple of days longer than we expected, and having my suitcase at the studio, going out of the studio, getting in a cab, go to the airport, go on the road.
Boy,
it's
can you talk?
That's insane.
Yeah, well, no, can you talk about that feeling as an artist of being basically under a deadline to come up with tunes, and then you're not even used to really knowing where the heart of the song is, and you have to put it on a record? What does that feel like?
Yeah. It's kind of like that. That's why I really loved it when we'd had some experience playing the song. But then a lot of times, sometimes right in the studio, that's where the groove happens, and you just feel that groove of it, and that causes you to get ideas and sparks a lot of stuff happening too. So there's that too.
Could you point to a specific time with Dawson when you guys had some spontaneous combustion in the studio?
Yeah. Let me think.
Talking to David Nelson here on the Jake Feinberg Show. He's on the mend, getting ready to get back in the saddle with Pete Sears and Barry Sless. And
I think with the song, Hand Jive.
Yeah.
We just get into the groove, and we didn't really. We exploited with us the our ability to make something that was almost commercial, just like a package. So that we thought of our songs as like packages, and get in there, play your solo, sing the verses, and you're out, and get it there in under 3 minutes, because that was the thing, that you couldn't get airplay if the song was over 3 minutes. That's why the Dead never got airplay very much and everything. So we thought of ourselves as more commercial, and because we could do that. And so we'd go in, and most of the tunes were like that until we got to a tune like Hand Jive, and we just kept playing it, and all of a sudden I went, hey, are we done? And that song went on for a long time. I mean, I think it's on the album. It's way longer than 3 minutes. I know that because we just started jamming and off on it and just playing the groove, and that's a good example of that. It just took off in the studio.
Up till that point, you're basically you guys had never stretched out in the studio longer than like a 3-minute thing. Everything.
Well, no, we weren't. We were trying not to. We were trying to, with Jerry was on the first album and everything, and we all just agreed. Now we got to make these packages, because this is a chance. We didn't know it was our first album, so we thought we might have a chance of actually getting in the marketplace. Getting on the Billboard Top 100 or something like that, maybe. And so we tried to make it as commercially viable as possible, and all the things that the radio station will tell you, have it be under 3 minutes, and the record label will tell you another thing, and the nightclubs will tell you another thing and stuff like that. So, I think John Dawson was thinking of all that when he wrote the stuff too. Have a variety of ideas and synthesize. I mean, down to to nice little packages. Intense, concentrate them down to each song to a nice little package that has everything in it.
Making it seem a lot easier than it sounds.
Yes, right. Yeah.
I mean, that is so. If you best case scenario, how do you want to finish this year with your band? I mean, do you have? Can you, assuming you mend, are you looking at being able to get on the bandstand before the end of the year?
I don't think so. Actually, it's not looking like it. But I might be there just to sing. That's possible. But we don't really have anything until after the New Year's anyway. I won't be doing the New Year's gig.
The reason I brought up the fact that you're on the mend is, that Barlow is also not. He
oh yeah.
And I just, I wanted you to, what mortality. How are you dealing with mortality? I mean, you're out in the dark tripping, Barlow's on his trip. I mean, you just talk about that idea of mortality, and I think you guys always sort of had a grasp on it, which is one reason it seems like it is the fact that you guys are still like pretty high,
I just remembered the joke. This is a good one. This is a joke that Barlow told me. This guy is walking down the street, busy street downtown, and he's got a cigar box in his hands, and it's all taped up with masking tape. It's taped shut. And it's making this sound like that. And the guy comes up to him, a stranger comes up to him and says, "Hey, what's that sound? What's in that box?" And the guy goes, "It's my bee collection." He says, "Bee collection?" "Yeah." He says, "I got 10,000 bees right here in this box. 100,000 bees right in this box." He says, 100,000 bees? Don't they get crushed? The guy says, "Fuck them." It's my collection. I can do anything I want with it. Fuck them.
Why does that resonate? Why did that resonate with you and Barlow? What was that?
I don't know. I just howled when I heard that. I just howled,
oh,
man. I
God.
thought, yeah, exactly, man. Fuck them.
Fuck them. Fuck 'em.
I don't know. It's just funny.
So tripped out. How did you? There's this epic thing that I've been seeing. You guys play in Hawaii a lot. Your band and
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That for the arm to be in good shape for that. I'm hoping to be able to do the Hawaii tour. It will come at the end of January and into the beginning of February.
Because I'm looking here at a glass blowing session on Maui with you and Billy Kreutzmann.
Oh yeah.
How did that?
Yeah,
what was that? I mean, when
we did that one time? Yeah.
But I mean, that must go back before that. I mean, it wasn't like you guys were like, "Hey, this is our new hobby." I mean, were you guys? Was there any glass blowing going on? I know people were making instruments.
No, this was a guy who makes this beautiful artwork, glass blowing. It's incredible. And so he was having a session, and he had the band play at it to sell some glassware. You know, I mean, that people could come and they could see all this stuff, and you could get an original, you know, a globe that goes over a light bulb, or a vase, or beautiful stuff. I mean, really incredible, intricate, you know, colors and everything like that. It was just really great. And so what I really wigged on was the guy showing me how it's done. I mean, he actually has this hot furnace thing, and you put it in there, and he pulls it out of the furnace, and it's this glowing piece of glass, a dripping, you know, of glass. And then he makes a shape out of it, and then he puts it in something else, and he has ways of shaping it. And it was just incredible watching him do that.
Yeah, he had like those cleavers. He kept moving this stuff around when it was still malleable. It was quite really remarkable stuff. But how did so? I mean, but Billy was playing drums with you guys. How was he there?
Yeah, because he lived there.
Well, no, I dig that. I mean, but he when you guys go out there, he plays drums with you out there?
We would hook up with him as much as possible. Yeah, some of the first couple of times we went there, he was our drummer for the tour.
Right, I've seen some of that. There's some really nice, some nice tunes. But I always was curious too about the idea that on Powerglide and a few other of those New Riders albums, Billy found his way on to the sessions. Like he's playing percussion on those sessions.
Yeah.
And so
that's because the Dead were recording at the same time, or we all would go to the record plant and you know, yes.
Wow.
We asked Billy on Powerglide. Yeah, we had him play some percussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff.
Fun, really fun. Yeah.
Going back in the lineage of music, David, I'm going to ask you, for the forefathers of in bluegrass, it was Bill Monroe. And did you have a chance to? I don't believe you never played with him. I know Peter Rowan did, but can you talk? I mean, the lineage of music goes back.
I never did play with him. I met him at the Ash Grove when real early on there, when me, Jerry, and Adam Zotis got in the car. We heard that Doc Watson and Bill Monroe was the double bill at the Ash Grove. The Ash Grove's in Los Angeles.
Sure, Scotty Stoneman used to play there.
Yeah. And we're up there in Palo Alto, and so anyway, we drove all the way down there, and we got our tickets for the 2 days, and one of the days I was just learning to play mandolin because Eric Thompson was going to play guitar, and so he didn't play mandolin, so I was going to play mandolin. So I was just working it out on mandolin. And so one of the days at the Ash Grove, it's like before the band is playing or something like that, and there's people walking around, and I saw Bill Monroe walking towards the stage, and he walked in the walkway there looking at the stage, but there was a lot of people, so he stopped, and so I went up beside him and said, "Hey, Bill, hi, my name's David Nielsen," and I said, "I was just learning to play mandolin, and I was wondering if you could give me any pointers about stuff that's important about learning to play mandolin." And he said, yeah, just always keep a loose wrist and don't hold the pick too tight." And I marveled at that. I mean, those are the two best things you can say about learning to play mandolin.
Wait.
Don't hold the pick too tight.
Okay,
keep a loose wrist when you're playing, and don't hold the pick too tight.
That is epic.
That is really, really important. You'll find that when you get up tight and you're trying to struggle with some lick, you're gripping that pick really hard, you know, and it's not going so well. You're slowing down, you know. It's like, oh man, I just went, yeah, that's right. Just don't hold it. Just hold the pick and just like that, and it just bubbles out.
I mean, but it's not loose enough where it could possibly, like flip out of your hands. You don't want to lose the pick.
Well, no, I mean, but just don't hold it too tight. That's the
Right.
thing.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I mean, you gotta let it be. But I mean,
Yeah.
what is the quality? I have this record that Pacific Standard Oil put out from '74 with Vassar Clemens, and man, I gotta tell you, the way he talked is the exact way that you just described Monroe. No more than 3 or 4 word utterances, yet it was profound.
Yeah.
It was profound stuff.
Yes.
It was very,
Right.
very profound, man. It was
Yes.
like he's like, it's good to hear. It's good to hear when somebody's playing good fiddle. He's like, but there's nothing worse than if it's bad.
Yes,
It's
right.
like you're
Stuff
just
like that,
so on point.
Oh, yeah.
And this girl is actually a very good interviewer. She has her own style and sounds like total hippie and just. But Vassar's just like, and also the ego did not exist. They're like,
Yeah.
She's like, how did you become such a? Do you practice a lot? He's like, I have to practice. He's like, I have to practice a lot. He's like, I don't know about anybody else, but I got to practice. I mean, there was no ego.
Yeah.
There was none.
Yeah.
How do you count for? I mean, is that what you guys gravitated to aside from the music? Was just how effortlessly, simply genius these cats were.
I know. It's just totally incredible. Yeah, Vassar was full of stuff like that. Just little 1 or 2 word things that are just
Dude, he was. I
all-timers,
mean, I
you know,
can't
just
stop
all-time
listening to
statement.
it. I can't stop listening to this
Yeah.
guy. The way he talked, and the way he
Yeah.
delivers it is just like this. It would have been a
And
great.
he was a funny guy too. I have a tape. One time I was off on the road with the New Riders, and my girlfriend was watching the house. And one of the days, Vassar and Sandy Rothman came over because they thought I was there, and then he said we ought to go see David, and Vassar was in town, and so they came over. No, Sherry says, no, he's not here, but you guys come on in. And they came in, they sat down on the couch, and they started playing. So Sherry puts on a tape. It's a cassette tape, puts it on, and just a room mic, and so I got home and I listened to this, and it's just jamming and noodling, just fooling around, and there's this one tune, and they played on, and then Sandy takes a solo, and then Vassar, and then they finish it, and Vassar goes, Flint Hill Special. As if they were playing a real stock bluegrass tune. It was totally just a jammer way out there. You couldn't define it in any kind of words.
He just
Flint Hill Special.
he just, I mean, such an affable cat. Beautiful.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to go across in your mind not who are the forefathers, who was your forefather for R&B and soul, for rock, for jazz, and why?
Well, that would be my friends in high school. I can't name any one person exactly, except a friend, Bob Galling. He was the guy who would tell me about certain things. But yeah, I mean, it got intense. I was, it was right. Our age group right then was right smack dab ground zero at the birth of rock and roll. I remember my clock radio would wake me up on a school day every day, and it's a clock radio, so the radio would go on instead of an alarm. And I remember waking up and hearing Great Balls of Fire, or You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, and just time after time. The first time anybody ever heard it, there it is, boom, and
wow. First time played on the radio. That's awesome. That is.
Well, I mean, when the tune came out, they're playing it all over the country.
Absolutely.
But being right at the age when it suddenly, it dawned on me a couple of years after that yeah, man, we were right ground zero. That was it.
Well, what about? I mean, hold on though. What about distribution? Like, didn't sometimes records take longer to get to certain regions of the countries than others?
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I think,
And also, you'd go to a record store and you'd ask for the record. They didn't let you browse through bins of records. You'd go up there and you'd ask, "Do you have Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and his Comets?" And they'd go over to the slots there and they'd say, "Yes, we do." And they'd hand you the 78. I was buying 78s. And then 45s came in, and then it got to be more of a teenage thing. And then they said, "Okay, you can put on these headphones and you can listen to a record over here." And then these little booths that you could listen to a record. And then finally they agreed, "Okay, you can thumb through albums." It was so funny, you know, that record stores weren't thought of as, they were more like furniture stores or something. And that's the odd thing. It's the invention of records.
Yeah.
They didn't know where to put them, what to do with them. And back in the 20s, when records were invented, and so they made their debut in furniture stores because you were buying a Victrola. You were buying a record player.
Sure.
At the store, at a furniture store. And
so
they
great.
say, "And here's some records for you to play on there," you know. And,
right, you can go to book clubs, or the record clubs. You know, Columbia would send you records. A lot of the jazzers would get those. That's how they learned about Duke Ellington and Dizzy and those cats like that. They would come in with a record. But I mean, the idea was that you were going to a I don't want to say corporate, but you were going to a furniture store, and that's where you would buy a record player, as opposed to going to like some vintage thrift shop now. Or someplace like
there
that.
wasn't a special field. There wasn't a special store for just records because it was too new. I'm talking about 1935 or something like that. Where it's just too new of a thing. And when some of those records were recorded in 1928 and the old stuff, and even opera and classical and jazz and stuff. It was too new of a thing for somebody to have a music store where you sell records. They hadn't thought of that yet.
They hadn't thought of it. They had not thought of it yet.
Yeah, they could, because it's hard to tell. Where's this thing going to go? I mean, how far are people going to go with this?
Well, what was the medium before that, though? It was literally
I don't
live
know.
music.
They played it on the radio. That's what you were encouraged to do, is listen to the radio for the records.
Okay, so the records were being made and then distributed to radio stations, but they weren't being sold wholesale, or they weren't being sold.
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know exactly how that worked, but I just know from a ordinary person's standpoint is that even when I was a little kid, we listened to the radio, and I would sit there and parents would buy their kids record albums, which is a book, like a big book with brown envelopes in it, and there's 78 records that you put on the changer, and I had Hopalong Cassidy's Songs and Stories. Tex Ritter, not Hopalong Cassidy, excuse me. Tex Ritter's Songs and Stories. Great record. I'd sit there and, I was 3 or 4 years old, sit there crouched by the Magnavox and listen to Tex Ritter and also classical stuff, Peter and the Wolf, and narrated by Basil Rathbone, stuff like that. And I'd sit there. And then I liked my father's records. He liked Burl Ives. So he had these stacks of 78s of Burl Ives. And I would sit there and listen to those too. And I was cutting teeth. I remember how young I was, because the corner of the book cover, of the album, was just perfect for in between your teeth to massage that area where a new tooth is coming in, I got in trouble for that, chewing up the corners of the album.
Oh, that was you, and that wasn't the mice? That wasn't.
That was me. No, that wasn't the mice. That was me. I admit it.
Hey, do you have on Panama Red? My show really just started Me interviewing just the most amazing accompanists in all forms of music, and one of the things I love about the time period that when you really your formative years in the New Riders, you guys on Panama Red brought in Armando Peraza to play percussion.
Right.
Do you?
Yeah.
How did that?
How did that happen? I can't remember how that happened, but I remember I knew Armando Peraza from.
Tell me about how you knew Armando.
He played with Cal Jader.
Oh my God! See, Jader.
He would play with Cal Jader, or he'd be in San Francisco, and he'd be at the Black Hawk, and he would be sitting in with anybody who played there. Yeah.
What?
And I think some of us knew about him.
Yeah, I've interviewed everyone from that Jader community. A lot of cats aren't with us anymore, but that band was like Willie Bobo on timbales, Armando Peraza on Latin percussion. And you were David Nelson was dancing to that music. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I was always listening to it. Yeah.
What got you off about that Afro-Cubans, the clave? What did you like about that?
Incredible, yeah, the rhythms. Just incredible. It was like jazz and then something else. Yeah, man, that was great stuff.
But yeah, all right. Hey, Nelson, I love you, man. I had a ball with you, man. I'll let you go. But
okay.
All right.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, it was the Black Hawk that I was trying to remember in the last interview. I was trying to remember that club I went to see Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, hold on.
And also, I was wondering if I could send you. I went to my iTunes collection and browsed through my Thelonious Monk stuff and got a couple of cuts that I was thinking I could email them to you just to listen to.
Are you kidding me? I would just love that.
Would you like?
Yeah, man. What I need to do with you, actually, I've been transcribing chunks of our first interview, so I'll send you that along for future reference if you need it, because there's some profound stuff in there as well. And
yeah.
Let's let's just be in touch, man. You're part of the brotherhood, and this is like and sister.
You know the tune "In Walked Bud." It's a Thelonious Monk tune. It's about Bud Powell. In Walked Bud means Bud Powell.
Sure.
And my friend Tom Stern, who made these series of albums called The Usual Suspects, he would gather from different people from different fields of music and stuff like that and say, okay, we're playing In Walked Bud. And I believe I played rhythm guitar on In Walked Bud one time. He had a bunch of other musicians playing it too. And so I
hold on a second. On what this was
on a recording of us doing In Walked Bud. It was Tom Stern, who just passed away. I'm grief stricken. He's one of my best friends.
Oh.
But we were friends for all those years. Played with Wakefield and me. He played 5-string banjo. Anyway, he used to make these records called The Usual Suspects, and they would have variety of stuff, like the ultimate variety. There'd be jazz tunes, there'd be opera, classical, or it's cool old tunes done in a new way. Taj Mahal would be on them, and I'm there on several tunes, and just people from all around, playing.
It was like 10-inch?
He would have these sessions. What?
Like they were like 10-inch records, or they were like full 33?
No, they were. This was in the 70s.
Oh my God! Wait,
my friend Tom Stern. Yeah.
What label was this on? I need to hear you playing guitar.
His own label. He did put him out on his own. He just didn't have a label from a company, I don't think. And he later sold him to.
Arhoolie?
No. Was that one at the local? Oh, damn!
Berserkly?
Can't even think of it.
I'm just looking.
No, the most prominent one, a label in San Francisco Bay Area.
Rhino.
They usually do folk music.
Rhino
or the other one besides Rhino. There's two. Tom Diamant. Anyway, I'll think of it. But anyway,
there's a ton of stuff.
he later sold all the Usual Suspect stuff to them, but they just put it in the basement. They don't have any place to put it. You know, it's like, what kind of music is? Because a company usually wants to sell one kind of audience, direct it to a certain audience or age group, and this is like on one album would be tunes so diverse that you never heard of such stuff. And I'll get that to you too. I'll dig up. I got the albums myself, the vinyl. But,
no, I'm looking here on YouTube, and there's David Nelson and Tom Stern, February 8th, 1986, Hollister, California.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's up. That we got a soundboard of that already on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, you know, let's just listen, man. I gotta go pick up my kids. I could talk to you for hours. We'll do part 3. We'll be in touch. I had a ball, man.
Okay.
All right.
All right, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Be good.
Thanks, Jake.
Later, David. Take care. Just hearing the beautiful lyrics, songs, words of David Nelson. We'll have him back on the program. I'll be back tomorrow with David Garibaldi from Tower of Power. Until then, let's rejoin the Jim Parisi Show.
Common sense people, I'm sure, around the country said the same thing. When I was telling you about the Trump presidency, I've said it with Steve Cass. I said it a million times. There will be no brick and mortar wall. Anyone who thought he was actually going to build a wall from scratch does not know the border. Yeah, but he said he would.